It was one of those mornings where every second mattered. The air was thick with tension and hope as Jamal sprinted down the quiet suburban street, clutching his worn leather folder, the same one he'd carried since college. His shirt clung to his back in the rising summer heat, and his heart pounded not just from running, but from the weight of what this day meant. Today was supposed to change everything: his life, his future, maybe even his family's fate. After months of rejection emails and sleepless nights, he had finally landed an interview with one of the city's biggest corporations. This was his one shot to turn struggle into stability, and he wasn't going to let anything ruin it. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and how one good deed can change your destiny, then take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because what happens next might just restore your faith in humanity. As Jamal jogged toward the bus stop, his mind raced with self-reminders. Smile confidently, maintain eye contact, remember to thank them for the opportunity. But just as he turned the corner onto the main road, something caught his eye. A sleek black car pulled over on the side, hazard lights blinking. Beside it stood an elderly man in a navy blue suit, looking helpless and a little frustrated, his silver hair glinting under the morning sun. One of the car's front tires sagged flat against the asphalt. The man held a smartphone in his hand, trying to make a call, but the signal here was poor. Jamal hesitated. He looked at his watch. Only 20 minutes until the interview. If he missed the next bus, he'd never make it in time. His chest tightened. He could just keep walking. After all, the man wasn't his responsibility, but something inside him refused to let that happen. He remembered his late mother's words, "Son, it costs nothing to be kind. Help where you can, even if no one is watching." He'd heard those words 100 times growing up, but right now they echoed in his mind louder than ever. So Jamal sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and jogged toward the car. The man looked up, surprised but relieved as Jamal approached. Without asking too many questions, Jamal crouched by the tire and began to assess the damage. The old man explained that he had tried calling roadside assistance, but they said it would take over an hour. Jamal rolled up his sleeves, loosened the lug nuts, and started working. His hands got dirty, his white shirt smeared with grease, but he didn't care. Minutes passed, and sweat trickled down his forehead. The forest-lined road was quiet, except for the distant hum of passing cars and the rhythmic sound of Jamal's wrench turning the bolts. The older man stood nearby, watching silently, occasionally offering to help, but clearly unable to do much. When Jamal finally finished, he wiped his hands on his pants and smiled faintly. "You should be good to go now," he said. The man's eyes softened. "You've saved my day, young man. Please let me give you something for your trouble." Jamal shook his head. "No, sir? Just glad to help." He glanced at his watch and felt his stomach drop. He was already 20 minutes late. The bus was gone, and with no taxi in sight, there was no way he could make it across town in time. He forced a polite smile and waved goodbye as the man got back into his car and drove off. Jamal stood by the road, the silence pressing heavily on him. All that effort, all that preparation, gone. He walked slowly toward the bus stop bench and sat down, staring at the pavement. A mix of disappointment and quiet pride filled his chest. He had lost an opportunity, yes, but he couldn't bring himself to regret helping. Hours later, he returned home to his small apartment, exhausted. His roommate looked up from the couch, confused to see him so early. Jamal explained what had happened, trying to laugh it off, but his voice trembled. That night he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if fate had just played a cruel joke. The next morning, his phone buzzed. The screen showed an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Is this Jamal Robinson?" A calm, professional voice asked. "This is Elaine from Sterling Industries. Mr. Carter, our CEO, would like to meet you personally. He said it's urgent." Jamal's heart skipped a beat. He stammered a response, barely believing what he'd heard. He didn't even remember applying for another position there. A few hours later, he walked into the same building where his missed interview had been scheduled the day before. As he entered the boardroom, his eyes widened. Sitting at the head of the table was the same elderly man he had helped on the roadside, now wearing a crisp suit, looking every bit the powerful executive. The man smiled warmly. "Jamal, I was hoping you'd come." Jamal stood frozen, his mind spinning. The CEO continued, "You probably didn't know who I was yesterday. I was on my way to an important meeting when my car tire blew. I've met many people in my life, but few would have stopped like you did. You gave up your chance for something that could have changed your life, all to help a stranger. That kind of character is exactly what this company stands for." The room fell silent for a moment as the old man leaned forward. "If you'll still have us, the position is yours. In fact," he smiled, "I think we can find something even better for you." Jamal blinked rapidly, trying to process what was happening. His throat tightened, and tears burned at the corners of his eyes. All he could manage was a quiet, "Thank you, sir." Weeks passed, and Jamal's life began to change in ways he'd never imagined. He was offered a full-time position, mentored directly by the CEO, and soon became one of the most promising young leaders in the company. Yet despite all the success, he never forgot that morning, the moment he'd almost walked away but chose compassion instead. Sometimes, he'd drive down that same forest road on weekends, pull over where it all happened, and just sit in silence, grateful for the strange twist of fate that proved one simple truth. When you lead with kindness, the universe has a way of returning it in ways you can't predict. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and not just for us, but to remind others that one act of kindness can rewrite a life. Special request: comment below. What's the kindest thing a stranger ever did for you, or that you did for someone else? Your story might just inspire someone today.